Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you out here on the very, very East Coast at this point. Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer, also on the East Coast. And we are looking at some playa props here for this Game 5. Mazel tov to us and to the Celtics. We have more hoops left in this Eastern Conference Finals. We also have our best bets up, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along throughout the rest of this NBA playoffs. Also want you to head to thelines.com, check out the site, and use that odds finder tool up there. We've got a nice chart laying out all the odds available to you from all these books that are giving us bets in the U.S. this postseason. Very happy to report that we did a nice little 5-0 on the player props here for this Game 4 that we just saw between these two teams. So we'll look to continue to stay hot on it. I don't think we have Caleb Martin in here, Nate, but I'll just say, go ahead and continue to bet on Caleb Martin. We both love him. At least I know I do, and I don't see any reason to think that he'll stop having such a nice usage or minutes. But there's a little bonus one to kick it off. Let's jump right into your first prop for tomorrow night as we record this on Wednesday, Nate.
Oh, I'm going to mention Caleb Martin. Don't you worry about it. But yeah, I'm going with Jimmy Butler, who's also our best bet, or my best bet to kick things off here. I talked about a more conservative bet with 36 points / rebounds, but I honestly think he might score 35, which is plus 320 at FanDuel. Better juice there than him to be the top scorer, which I think you can also bet if you want. It's plus 160, but you might as well just bet him to get 35 because I think Tatum's his prop is around 31. So I think Jimmy would have to get there anyway. But the point is, he's just exuding confidence and the idea that he's going to bounce back on the road and be the villain at the Garden. His last 4 regular season outings at the Garden, he's averaging 41 PRA. And, this is a guy who routinely chills during the regular season. You don't see him put up numbers. So he likes playing here. His last 3 in the playoffs at the Garden, 36 points per game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and playing over 43 minutes per game. Games 6 and 7 last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. 1 was in Miami, but just huge performances. And that's really been the trend in elimination or closeout games when they need him. They haven't needed him as much. They didn't really need him to close out the Knicks at home. He went for 24-8. In this last game, he went for 29-9 at home again. But look at previously at Milwaukee, 42-8. Against Boston, 47-9, 35-9, 32-8 to close out Philly, 36-10 to close out Atlanta. And the Heat are so thin now, right? With Gabe Vincent has the injured ankle. Kevin Love is not going to be able to stay on the floor. I think the usage rate has got to be 33% or higher for Jimmy. Vincent had a 23% usage rate the last 2 games here. He's been their second best scorer. Caleb Martin's super efficient, but it's really, now even more on Jimmy's shoulders to just score an ISO. And I don't think the Celtics are going to be doubling him that much. They're going to live with those results and stay home on the 3-point shooters otherwise.
Yeah, no, I'm completely on board with Jimmy all over the place. Like you said, the 34% usage that he just put up, bank on that continuing. I would say that was the first time we really saw him take over to that extent. He's been really efficient at times in this series when they've needed him to be, but for the most part, he has deferred consistently until he took 21 shots in this last game, and the next closest Heat player took 10. So continue to believe in that. Continue to believe in offense, probably a little bit less defense from the Heat, as you're going to need to see guys like Duncan Robinson on the floor to sort of make up for what we might see be a lack of 3-point shooting from Gabe Vincent if he's not able to play quite as much. So yeah, really still continuing to feel good about Jimmy in this one as well, and also love his rebounds while we're talking about him. Over 7.5 is still plus money. He got 9 last night, which I correctly called, with 2 units on him to get it at plus 115. So still getting it at plus 105 after he just hit it. I'm good on that as well. But let's move on to my first pick, which is another recurring pick here for me. G. Will, my guy, Grant Williams. I was all over him. A lot of us that were talking about it on Discord were pretty upset that we couldn't keep hitting it because they immediately not immediately, but they took it down right before my article went live talking about him, even though I tried to get that in the Discord. So hopefully you guys are on the Lines Discord because it's a place where we're talking about this stuff ahead of time as well. And it was at 4.5. They brought it back at one point. It was at about 7.5, 8.5. that's where it is again, is 7.5. And if you want it on points bet, it's over 8.5 is plus 110. If you want it on FanDuel, over 7.5 is what they're offering, minus 130. I'm good with either. Like, might as well take the juice if you have a points bet account. But if you want if you don't have one and you have a FanDuel account, I would just parlay the 7.5 with over 1.5 threes. That's how he scored most of his points in that last game where he shot 6 threes, right, and hit he hit 4 of them. So yeah, he was huge for them in that game and ended with 14 points because he also got to the free throw line, as I said in the last game, using that big booty to get to the rim and get fouled. And yeah, I mean the things that we've seen from him when he's been played is that he gets at least 9 points. So to keep the line right below 9 points for us and still give us plus money for those that have a points bet account, I'm happy to take that. He missed game 1 and then he scored 9, 10, and 14, or 9, 12, and 14 were his stats, his totals. And he also had 29 minutes, which was the third most minutes on the team. I'm sorry, fourth most minutes after the 2 Jalen's and then Marcus Smart, and then the fourth most tie for the fourth most shot attempts as well, as Marcus Smart took a little bit more than him. So like the fact that he's got such a high usage, so many minutes, I think he is the like 4th guy now. He's the guy that is going to be on the floor for 29 to 30 minutes after Marcus Smart's getting his 35, and then the Jalen's and the Jason will play as much as they need to. But I think Grant Will is like that 4th dude that is going to get minutes for this team now.
And Derek White too, who I also is an honorary mention. Him and Caleb Martin have been hitting every time in this series. I was looking at a parlay where for Grant to hit 2 threes, White to hit 2 threes, something else, if you want to look into that as well, because I agree. Yeah, most of Grant's attempts are going to come from deep. If he's out there for 29 minutes, he'll probably hit 2, even if he's like 2 of 8 from 3. He's going to fire away. And like I said last time when he found this prop, like he's one of the few guys showing a lot of consistent fight and motivation. He's also a guy playing for a contract and the ability to stay with this franchise. So, better late than never that Missoula actually put him on the floor, and he's trying to show what he can do. So, yeah, it's a good find. Now, even now at 9 points, when you found it at 5 points for the last game, like I'll still take it at 9. So I'm going under Kevin Love, 10.5 points and rebounds. And I think that, it's minus 120. So it's not like the odds are great here, but it's basically the same bet as betting over Caleb Martin again, because we're saying Kevin Love's going to play like 10 to 15 minutes as a starter and then just give way to Caleb as your small ball 4. I mean, he's already an absolute barbecue chicken on defense. Like, there's nothing he can do at this age against a pace and space team like the Celtics. And now he's dealing with an ankle injury. And I thought he was actually listed as out for game 4 for a while. And then he managed to play 12 minutes and got 6 points, 4 rebounds. So did not quite get to this prop, but I'm still astonished that he's able to produce that much in 12 minutes. His previous game, he played 5 minutes. His last 3, he's averaging 3.7 points, 3.7 rebounds. He's a minus 9 in those 31 minutes. And, the Celtics 3-point defense has to be better at home. It has nowhere to go but to regress. Miami shot 44% from deep in the first 2 in Boston here, which is the worst mark for anyone in 2 games at home in these playoffs. And look, Love's 77% of his field goal attempts come from 3. So it's just a question of, can you close out on this old dude, make him keep the ball moving? Don't let him shoot 3s. He's not going to hurt you anywhere else. And I don't think he's going to get 11 rebounds in 12 minutes. So I do think that this is a really solid bet in terms of the under. But if you want to keep chasing Caleb Martin as well, feel free.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything else to bet on right now, man. I've pulled any units from baseball and I'm really focused on basketball that we have left. So like, yeah, I'm putting out on people that I think is just consistently going to be hitting, and the props aren't raising high enough, et cetera. So I'm with the under on K Love because of the minutes. But interestingly, because what we've seen from him now is that he's going to play 12 minutes and he's only going to be out there in the first quarter, maybe sometimes in the second, or a brief blow at the beginning of the third before he comes out after like 2 minutes. Like, he's chucking. He's got their first like 5 points in 2 games ago. He scored the first five for Miami. Then he scored the first bucket for them last game. And even the odds are indicative of that. Him to score the first bucket of this game is plus 850. If you're going to take that, you might as well take the first bucket to be him hitting a three. It's like plus 900 versus plus 850. That's what he's doing, is pulling threes as soon as he's in there. And for him to be the first Heat player to score for, is plus 400. So like, whatever. I'm not saying like go crazy on it. I'm just saying it's happened two or and maybe three of the games that we've seen so far. And there's something to the idea that he's at least putting up a shot in the first quarter right away, because he knows he's not going to have very many opportunities in the rest of the game if one is so inclined.
Yeah, it's like me on my rec league
But
championship
let's move
team
on.
that's stacked. It's just like, I'm going to go out there and hit a couple threes, and then, yeah, you guys take it from here. I'll coach from the bench. That's K-Love right now.
Exactly. Or like when we would see Perk get like a quick touch for the C's back in the day, so that because he was never seeing the ball again after the first possession. But let me move on. After I do agree with you on the K-Love pick. Caleb Martin out there. I actually like Max Strus, as I see. I mean, Vincent is still listed as like clearly a starter according to the books, as he's got like odds for first field goal and stuff like that. So they think that he's going to be out there to start the game. Do they think that about Vincent? If he's not out there, or if we do get some more news that he's hobbled, I'm going to pile on to Max Strus a bit more, who's back down to like 11.5 after he's gotten only 10 points and has failed to get 11 or 12 in the last 2 games after hitting it for like 5 or 6 games in a row. I think we're getting to that point with Strus, especially as other guys start to dwindle in their minutes, and Strus played 35 in game 4, that you might be able to go back to Strus on this one. So stay tuned for that. I do think that's something that I'll be talking about in the Discord. But for what I'm bringing for here, I actually feel a little bit less confident. Maybe I shouldn't. But Marcus Smart is somebody I'm going to in this one. And he's not a guy that I've gone to, even though he's such a do or die guy so consistently, whether it's like, all right, he's going for 14, 6 boards and 8 assists, or he's going for 7 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists. And I think the books stay on Marcus because they see the same things that we see, which is he's the third guy in terms of minutes. Like, he's the third guy that you can bank on being on the floor for the Celtics throughout the game. He has very like consistent pockets of minutes that he's going to be on the floor for, and even gets brought back at times when they need a spark. So I just am going to follow him in this one. It's 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And full transparency, I don't have a beat on any of these props more than the other, outside of probably the assists. And that's what I'm looking for too. There's just not good juice to take just the assists. It's like 5.5 like minus 140, or like 5.5 at like minus 128. I think you can get on FanDuel right now, but I don't really like that and have to bank on him doing that. It's just that's the assist, that's the stat that sort of helped his numbers against the Heat, specifically at home, and that's where it's a little bit conflicting. So against the Heat, in the 4 games that he's played against them at home this season and postseason combined, he's at 12 points a game and 8 boards a game, plus 3.5 assists per game against them. So the assists are really what gets you there in terms of the 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists combo. He does score 12 as well, like I said, but he's got plenty of games that he's getting under the points prop that he's at tonight, which is roughly 11.5. So rather than have to like focus on any one of those 3, and I know he's rebounding slightly less in these situations against the Heat, he's still getting the 3.5 that his prop is at, that like really helps us along here to make sure that we get what we need, because he could go over. So I'm just combining them all together rather than have to like try to figure out which one it's going to be, because I think the usage and the more importantly the minutes that he's out there will soak some of this up no matter what. But like I said, what's conflicting here is he's been better on the road in the playoffs, like noticeably better. He's scoring about 18 points a game and 4.5 boards and 6 assists on the road in the playoffs versus 11.5 points, which is the biggest disparity there, scoring a bit less. So the rebounds and assists are another way to look at this without the points, if you feel like there's some consistency here, but that's still at 9.5 for him to get 10. It's a pretty good bet there, I think, for him to get the rebounds and assists. But there's thin margins here. I'm still only looking at like a half unit, maybe a unit the most on Marcus Smart to do this. But I am going to take the points, rebounds, and assists together as almost a coward's way out.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a lot more confident in Max Strus and and some other guys that you kind of talked around rather than Marcus Smart. I'm definitely not confident in Marcus to score. I would take 10 rebounds and assists with more confidence. But I mean, him to hit 3-pointers is extremely erratic. You don't even know if he's going to get the attempts. And I mean, what he brings to the table is leadership for this team. He's the guy in the huddle that that yells, but his play doesn't always back it up. And he should be out there for good minutes, but for me, I would keep attacking Derek White, who's still around 10.5 points. And continues to have really good offensive games while Brogdon struggles. So I think he's also locked in to 29, 30 minutes. And like Grant Williams is a bit undervalued in terms of his scoring.
Yeah. I think there's a reason that Marcus Smart was like the last guy even mentioned, even though we don't necessarily have anybody else like Derek White and Max Strus. I think we should definitely make sure that you guys are taking that away from this video. And then, like I said, for Marcus Smart, maybe a half unit. I just was looking at the minutes for him. So it's possible, but it's like such a 50-50 call for me. And even the rebounds and assists, which I think are a better bet than anything, I agree. But still, like a 50-50 call. So I was just putting one out there for us, but more confident definitely in the Strus and White stuff. So that's all the time we have for you in this one, potentially the last video about an Eastern Conference Finals game this year. We shall see if the Celtics can keep this thing going. Otherwise, we'll be back when the NBA Finals are here. And so until we see you next, happy betting.